and welcome to Talk Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment. Tonight, we're at McCafferty's in Epsom in Surrey. I'm Phil Dave. Here's what's coming up.
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation thing. It's almost a plea for help.
I like Kate because I know her. Not personally,
Know her?
not of her. I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it. Actually, I quite like Suits.
People coming to the pub and drinking 0% alcoholic drinks, they're still coming to the pub and doing trade.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going, but I have 0% beers and I feel pissed.
What the heck is a decaf skinny latte with oatmeal? What are you talking about? Okay, well, let's kick off this episode of Down the Local by saying a very good evening to our panel this evening. I'm delighted to say we have Mayuran Senthilnathan, who is a Reform UK former parliamentary candidate and businessman. Welcome. Tom Clayton, broadcaster and journalist, and Pete Barnes, political strategist and political commentator. Really.
Yeah.
A bit like me, or a gob on a stick.
Yes, pretty much, yes.
But anyway, you're all very welcome one way or another. Right, what are we all drinking this evening? That's the first thing we've got established. We've got 3 Guinnesses. Yeah. And Aaron, what have you gone for?
Non-alcoholic water, sparkling water.
Oh dear, get off the show! Right, no, it's all good. It's fine. All fine. All drinks are welcome here. So, what we're going to do is we'll start off this evening because there's something that I'm absolutely itching to discuss, because this has been driving me nuts for such a long time, and yet actually on the time we've been doing Down the Local we've not actually discussed it before. It's to do with the flag, right? The flag, the Union Jack, whatever you want to call it. It's very simple. There seems to be a massive problem in our country at the moment with the flag, and I can't work out where it's come from or indeed why we even have this problem. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? Because I quite like our flag.
Well, I actually think this is emblematic of a battle for the soul of the country, actually. I think Keir Starmer, to his credit, has actually outlined the problem. He talks about the soul of the country being at stake, and he puts forward that Britain's flag is a diverse flag. And that's one side of the camp. And on the other side of the camp, we've got other people who say, no, Britain's flag isn't just a diverse flag. It's loyal to these islands, to its inherited history, to its institutions, to its civilizations, to all its successes and all its failures. It has its own culture, its own identity, and that is what the flag represents. So the tensions that we're seeing at the moment, Operation Raise the Colours, is really a clash of these two worldviews and the meaning of what Britain is going to be going forward, and we've got a decision to make. And I think we're at a civilizational moment the next sort of 2-3 years, I say, to make that decision.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I'd argue personally that the flag to me is just, it's our stability. It's the constant throughout British history. And as a result of it, regardless of who wants to claim it for whatever peculiar purposes, they'll never be able to do that because it is the flag of the UK.
Yeah, and I think that's the big problem, is actually what we're seeing is a lot of gatekeeping. A lot of people think that they own the flag, particularly those on the left, because they're the ones that politicise it. It's not the right that politicises it. The reason that it's still seen as a far-right symbol is because the left want to keep it that way. They don't like the idea of any kind of nationalism because, like you said, it's about unity, and the left need us more apart to be able to play the them versus us. And I think that's the real play here. Because I always say I don't care about bunting. Like, I care about the melting economy and the fact no one's going to have a job in about 2 weeks' time. I think that's a bigger problem. But you are right that this is a soul of the nation issue. But I don't know. It's one of those kind of tit for tat things that did have a purpose, but now we've gone to such extremes on it that again it's just descended into nonsense, and it's not going to get resolved because we're just screaming at each other.
I think ultimately a lot of it comes down to what it represents and who it represents that to. So there's some people in society who believe that, the flag is the symbol of the country, we should be proud of it, we should wave it. And, I'm one of those. I genuinely believe that we have a flag that should be waved and we should be proud of it. But then there's others who, not necessarily because of how we are now, but then people who are apologists for the British Empire, for apologists for how we've been in the past, and it's almost a symbol of national shame to them. It's kind of like, well, we flew that flag, so, I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah. No, that's actually, do you know what, the whole national shame thing I believe that actually that's a sort of a greater agenda going on, to be honest with you. It's sort of this, as you say, this apologist nature of sort of of so many successive governments now who have sort of almost been forced to be embarrassed by our great British history.
This goes back to my point of it's because of gatekeeping. It's because it's thrown at people as a weapon because of its connotations with the far right and the symbolism behind it that nationalism is somehow a bad thing. That's what's happened is the wording has been weaponized. So that means that anything to do with any bits of patriotism is seen as a kind of as a threat rather than something to be celebrated, because we don't really do the whole flag waving thing. That's not a British way of doing it. Not really. We're more of a pomp and circumstance when necessary.
Sorry, no.
No, I was just saying that raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation thing. It's almost a plea for help, an attempt to mark the territory and say, this is a British country. It has its own heritage, and that's why I think what we're seeing at the moment, when you have the white demographic potentially, dwindling, you have whole areas of the country effectively dominated by one ethnic minority, one culture, and effectively an organic apartheid developing. And then on top of that, you have DEI discriminating against the white demographic. All of these things combined together, cracking down on free speech and all the rest of it. All of these things together, this is a plea for help to say, we are losing our country, we need it back, let me stamp my authority by raising the flag.
Well, I think...
Just a very quick one. I think it's also because there are certain parts of this country who feel like they've been failed by successive governments.
That's the big one.
They have not reaped the benefits of being in such a fantastic country like the UK, and that flag is a symbol of failure to them.
Well, I think we can all appreciate the irony of discussing the Union right here in an Irish pub. I'm going to find out what the punters think. Very simple. Question I got for you is, what does the UK flag mean to you?
It means history. It means our heritage. It actually means a lot to me, and I think over recent years things might have changed, but I'm very proud of Britain. I'm very proud of the UK. And
when you say things have changed, what do you mean? What do you think's changed?
I think things have changed over the last 10, 15 years. There's been a lot of immigration, and immigration's great as long as it's done in the right way and the politics back it up. Things have changed. Things have certainly changed, but I'm very proud of our history. I'm very proud of where we've come from, and hopefully we continue and get back on the right path.
Quite honestly, literally just where I live. I have no real attachment to it. I don't feel the patriotism like others do.
Why is that, do you think?
I think there's better places to live. I think ultimately, it's where I'm born, it's where I'm from. I can't change that.
Has anyone ever told you that you should feel embarrassed by the flag, do you think?
No one's ever told me that, but there's definitely been a lot of stuff I've seen where it's similar to the US flag, right? Where people put it outside their house, you get immediate connotations. You're like, oh, they're a certain way. I feel like we're getting that way with the British flag. I don't want to be a part of it. I am very, very neutral when it comes to it. I want to see my country do well. I don't want to leave. But if there's better places to live, why wouldn't I go?
It can mean a number of things. I think I don't have an issue with it, but I can see why some people do have an issue with it in terms of it represents your country, it represents a sense of belonging, it represents pride. But at the same time, I can see why some people are upset by the kind of racist connotations it might have. Might make some people feel that they're not welcome.
Now, gents, I want you to cast your minds back. Some of us sadly have to go back slightly further than others to our school days, because I believe, personally, the education system has done, can I be honest, bugger all for me, right, in my life. Because I was trying to think, when was I ever taught about important stuff like saving money or managing mortgages or something like that, or having to deal with bills or day-to-day legal stuff, all of these bits and pieces that we never seem to be taught in schools. So I reckon the education system in this country needs a total overhaul. We need to stop sort of focusing on bits and pieces that seem to do nothing for us, such as, trigonometry. When did you ever need that again? And actually sort of say to ourselves, I wonder if there's a way we could plant the seeds to help, say, the economy, for example, by teaching pupils about finance. I think the perfect suggestion would be, Mayuran, if we start with you, because obviously being a business man, I'd say you might have one for
We
this.
learned about igneous rocks. We learned about,
Oxbow Lakes.
yeah, oxbow lakes, geography's the one to go. These
And
kind
when
of
did you ever need to dissect a frog again?
But at the end of the day, you leave school and you don't know what an interest rate is. You don't know the difference between left and right politics. And you're going to vote. And if you're going to load at age 16 as well, you're going to vote. You're going to have a stake in democracy. And I think the fundamentals of how a society works, the basics of an economy, the basics of a political spectrum, which is going to govern your whole life and infiltrate every aspect of your life, I think the people needs to know that at least the 101, the basic, the fundamentals. Because otherwise, they're just completely divorced from society and the world that they live in.
I'd love that idea, but I could already see the Daily Mail headline and the Guardian headline of a right-wing teacher and a left-wing teacher and the chaos that will cause. The problem isn't the curriculum, it's the teachers. We don't have inspiring teachers anymore, not as a whole. I know for a fact I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now without certain teachers in my life. I just know that. They pushed me and knew that I was interested in something that wasn't the normal thing to be interested in and that kind of thing. I don't think we have people in our education system anymore that are in it for the cause. They're in it for their helping people. I'm not saying that's not all teachers, but I do think that now the teachers have become a little bit more paperworky. They're not kind of like the
Yeah, what I was
inspiring.
going to say, it's almost like the creativity.
Yes, that's the
But this is the thing. So I actually, in a weird sense, I kind of disagree with that.
Yeah.
I left education, full-time education, 10, 15 years ago, something like that. And I remember some of my best days at school were with creative teachers, and teachers inspired me to go down certain routes. Now, yes, it's hard to be inspiring as a maths teacher.
Yes.
I think that's a very important thing. I think it's a very important thing to make. These core subjects that people have to learn.
Yeah.
They're kind of important. You're not going to have the best of times. You make your choices when you do your GCSEs, for example, because they are your choice. And those are the subjects that I took more from when I was at that level. And I think, yes, okay, I understand about the whole politics thing and the economics thing.
Yeah.
But truth be told, I think actually when you take away the creativity from the system, when you take away the music, when you take away the sport, when you take away the drama, that kind of thing, that's when schooling doesn't work.
I agree with that, and I think that one of the bigger problems is certain schools seem to offer certain things that other ones don't. So, you might have an experience of being immersed in something that another school wouldn't even touch, and that might be your calling. And I think the lack of consistency across the country in terms of what's taught, how it's taught, and what you've got access to is a big problem.
What do you think about introducing things like Marcus Aurelius, Stoicism, and things like that?
Well,
they're neutral, they're
yeah,
secular. It's
yeah.
not we're talking about getting all religious.
Yeah. So I had what they call a classical education, and I loved it. And it's one of the reasons I wanted.
Somehow this doesn't surprise me.
But I wanted to be a history teacher. For a very, very long time, I wanted to be a history teacher. Yeah. And then I realised
you can see the elbow patches on the jacket.
But no, then I realised I don't like kids and don't get paid very much, so it wasn't really a winner for me. I have a lifestyle. But I think, for me, it's the problem is we have to keep stopping education being a transaction. We made it a kind of industry. So the minute that everybody went to university, the point of university went out the window.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be for the smartest, for the most gifted. That didn't come at the expense of everybody else. We let apprenticeships slide. We let blue-collar education slide.
Yeah.
That was the problem. The 50%,
And I know people who went to university who didn't have a clue what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
But it's almost because they felt pressured, I think.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
other people were going and they thought, oh, well, I'm going to come
But
across
also-
stupid.
But then as well,
Schools.
my grandparents' generation didn't have that kind of access to it, and they said if you go to an university,
Shouldn't just
do
do it for
it.
the hell of it.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is the problem.
No, absolutely.
Also,
I think that's the biggest
you also have to remember that schools used to boast how many kids got into Russell Group universities, how many kids got into Oxbridge. It became a commodity to trade on, and that took away the kind of intrinsic nature of education, which is for the sake of learning. And once you got rid of that, everything was going to fall apart.
I'm going to see what subjects this lot have been up to. What was your favourite subject at school, and has it ever done anything for you in adult life?
Well, given that I am a teacher of economics, yes, is the answer to that question. So business economics, yeah. It was my favourite subject, and that's what I teach now, yeah. I've been in the job for 15 years. I love it. I think you get a lot back. I think it's a bit up and down. Some days are really tricky, like this week, going up to Christmas, everybody's super excited. And then other times it's just really rewarding. So everybody just needs a little bit of support, guidance, help. It's a very altruistic job, and you don't go into it unless you love helping others, I think.
And I played, not really. I haven't done much for me. I like history as well. I liked history, but then I dropped out because it was too much writing.
Too much writing.
I can't write, so it was, yeah.
Did you not realise there might be an element of studying involved?
No. I thought it'd be funny, but it wasn't really that funny in the end.
History would be funny.
Well, no, because you get to learn loads of stuff, and I didn't enjoy learning in the end, so it wasn't really worth it.
I loved history. Absolutely nothing. Nothing for my life now. Nothing for my life has ever done. But I enjoy it.
So what was the most interesting thing you'd say you'd maybe learned in history in school? Like, do you remember? See, that's what it did for you. It did nothing, right?
It did nothing for me. I love learning about slavery and how America sort of like abolished that and how that worked. That was
I'm pleased you followed on with that, because I was worried where you're going with that.
I like learning about it, right? It's good to know about it. But it's not done anything for my life, no.
Oh dear, what a disaster. I see a load of empty glasses. It can only mean one thing. It's time for a round on a rant. So, on this episode of Down the Local, I've got a very simple rant. Obviously, I've ordered a couple of drinks here, but what's the most popular drink, do you think, apart from water? Obviously, it's coffee. What the hell is wrong with everyone when it comes to this brand new language I've never heard of before? Because I don't drink coffee, but basically everyone seems to speak this foreign dialect. What the heck is a decaf skinny latte with oatmeal? What are you talking about? I absolutely don't speak coffee, and I don't understand how so many people have come to the conclusion that they think it's remotely acceptable to sound like an absolute moron. Just have a coffee with milk or without. Simple as. As far as I'm concerned, coffee language, you're bonkers. Don't talk it, don't drink it if you're that worried about whether or not it's got lactose in it or something like that. It's coffee. Wake up, Britain, and smell the coffee. Simple, really, if you think about it.
Here he is. See, that'll do.
Oh, it's thirsty work, this, I tell you. Right, okay, what have we got here? We've got 3 Guinnesses, so we go for 1, 2, and then 1 for me. And then, much to my shame, a sparkling water. Oh, dear, dear. So, do you know what? As we have now got to celebrate that for the very first time on Down the Local, you've had the first non-alcoholic drink, seems right to me to ask, what the heck is this obsession with 0% alcoholic drinks? Because sparkling water, I'm guilty of that. If I'm driving, of course I have a sparkling water after a couple of Guinnesses. But as far as the actual idea of 0% Guinness or 0% wine or 0% spirits, what the heck is that, Tom? Surely.
I am going to turn a few heads here by saying I think they're actually quite a good thing, because by people coming to the pub and drinking 0% alcoholic drinks, they're still coming to the pub and doing trade. They're not sitting at home, they're going out with their friends, they are contributing to the economy.
Yeah.
And
now
I think
you just
that's
made me look horrible, but yeah, you're quite right. It's true.
Then I understand
Is it similar to like vegetarians eating vegan sausages? Like,
see, that's quite an interesting comparison, because if you look at most of
by the way,
if you look at most of these kind of the fake meat companies, they've all gone bust. That market never took off, but this one did. The zero alcoholic, it's still around, and I do think it is the kind of, we want to go out, but we don't want to spend a fortune, and we don't, like, you've got work the next morning.
We want to be able to drive home.
But I was going to say, I suppose, if you think about it, if you're out with friends and everyone around you maybe is not driving and they're drinking, and as you say, if someone's driving home, but they can actually feel like they're taking part by actually having a 0%
It's
beverage.
a ritual. It's a ritual, isn't it?
Yeah,
See, that's what makes it sound like it's FOMO in a bottle. The fear of missing out. That's
I suppose it is.
But in that case, be a grown-up and have a soft
But then on that argument, then of vegan-friendly meat or something, because I declare I'm pescatarian, so I eat fish and I don't eat meat or poultry. So I absolutely have vegetarian burgers if I go out, sort of say, if you go to some sort of meat restaurant and they do a vegan option, I'd eat that. But then at the same time, I suppose it's primarily because there's not a lot else on the menu. I suppose at least here you've got other drinks on the menu.
Yeah. Look, if you're driving, health reasons, religious reasons, whatever it is, you want to be part of the ritual, non-alcoholic beer, it serves a purpose. I do think if it starts to grow, and eclipse alcoholic drinks in a pub, I think you've lost something integral to pub culture.
I do think that's absolutely right, but for the time being, I think in a world where people are very health conscious, people are trying to be better at certain things, and also alcoholism is billed as this awful, demonic, horrible thing, which it kind of is. I think it's
but
quite
only if it's used in excess.
Yes.
Come on.
So-
I mean,
yeah,
I know. I'm talking about alcoholism, like
But
the
I
actual
think
addiction.
We've adopted an American version of alcoholism. So if you ever go to America, you have lunch there, and you ask for an extra glass of wine, they think you're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
They're kind of like having a business lunch is like half a glass of wine. Ours is what, 3 martinis and the rest of it. They don't have the same drinking culture that we have.
can I come to your next business meeting?
But that's my point is. Drinking and the culture of it is very ingrained into our society.
Do you think this is weakening the masculine culture?
No,
of-
I don't
of
think
pub
it's
drinking and.
I do think that's actually a big factor in it. Is male bonding and men spending time together. I think that is being torn apart because of alcoholic drinks.
And I think there's also a question in that we are kind of rediscovering what masculinity is, certainly with the generation, I'm 30 years old, it's the generation below me who never grew up with that, because when they were turning 18, it was COVID.
Yes.
And they couldn't go out to pubs, they couldn't go out to bars, and their parents were so overprotective with what they were doing.
I think
So they're
that's-
having to rediscover that, but they're not massively into alcohol.
We're having less sexual relationships, especially young kids and stuff.
Speak for yourself, I mean.
I knew that was coming.
This is actually a really, really good point.
Come on, thank you for saying
It's actually, we've become so puritanical.
Yeah.
Like, nobody smokes, nobody drinks, nobody does anything.
Yeah.
Because
Basically, you're boring.
yeah, we've become like the
speak
stereotype
for yourself.
Of the, yeah, I was gonna say we've become the stereotype of the Victorians, despite the fact the Victorians were filth. Like, we've become so puritanical because I think it's a way of getting to say I'm better than you because I don't do that. We're starting to look down
So
on
it
people
is
a lot
sensible,
more.
it has value, it's just the proportionality.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It's become that thing that I get to beat you down with.
Could be.
Yeah.
Although
and
I
think
do
that's
have to
a big
say,
factor.
there is something in what you're saying about the whole masculinity thing. Because I went to a friend's 50th a couple of months back, and because I was driving, I felt obliged. I obviously couldn't drink any alcohol. And as a result of it, I saw that they did have 0% beer behind the bar. And I thought, right, well, normally I wouldn't do this, but at the same time, everyone all around me, they've all got their pints in hand and stuff like that, and I don't really want to look completely and utterly like I don't want to have a good time. So I might have had a couple of 0%, but I found myself covering the label on the back of my hand because I didn't want anyone to see I was drinking 0%. And of course, as the evening went on and friends were getting drunker and drunker, and they looked at me and they're just like, "You're remarkably upright this evening, well done." I just said, well, some of us can handle alcohol. So,
But it's interesting you say that because I happen to know that the reason that they have it in the same style of bottle as alcoholic ones is because of that. They don't want to differentiate out of it.
Like Tesco own brand,
Yes,
isn't it?
so it's like
Yeah.
you actually are part of it.
And
they
it's
certainly
also,
don't want to differentiate the price.
No, but then it's also, that's the same for cigarettes and e-cigarettes.
Yeah.
They've called them e-cigarettes, even though they're nothing alike at all. They're vapes, you're inhaling steam, flavoured steam.
Yeah,
they call them
hollowing out the
e-cigarettes.
actual act, but keeping the external, the ritual is kind of what we're doing.
That sounds like Britain.
Let's go see what this lot think of 0%ers. What is the point of 0% alcoholic drinks?
I actually don't drink very often, so I actually, apart literally it's my one-off of like any time. I prefer it. I don't really drink, so to me they're very pointful, whatever the word is. Yeah.
They're very relevant.
Yeah, they're very relevant. There you go.
How many of them you had? No wonder you don't drink much.
That's true. Yeah, that's literally. I've only had one sip or two sips. Yeah.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going, but I have 0% beers and I feel pissed. So I don't see any point in them. I'll have 4 non-alcoholic Guinnesses and I worry about driving home. So stay away.
And apart from anything, you charge the same price.
Exactly. What's the point? They pour it out of a can anyway. What's the point?
There's no point of it. I don't see the reason, so it's all rubbish.
Please don't.
Now, you know what, Mr. Barnes? There was something you said not so long ago that's actually really stuck with me. You mentioned about the Victorians. And of course, I can't hear the word Victorian without thinking, I was born in the wrong era. No, I can't help but listening to the word Victorian and thinking, of course, of the late great Queen Victoria and, of course, the royal family. But as far as the royals are concerned in this day and age, who do you think is a better representative of the royal family for the future? Princess Catherine or Meghan Markle?
Neither.
How dare? What? Hang on. What do you mean neither?
Because let's be real, it's just turned into two sides. One doesn't like the other
Sure,
side. And
one side is more
It's been
representative, the
two
other
sides.
isn't.
It's not a matter of representation. The royal family are not a representation of the nation. They're not supposed to be. The royal family are there to do what Walter Bagot called paper over the cracks. They are the thing that binds the nation together because they're not supposed to be relatable. They're supposed to be so far removed that they are something that we watch with intrigue.
And I think
For goodness sake, wind him up and watch him go. Uzi, hang on.
You
Back on track. I'm the host here.
But surely Catherine brings that to the table.
I think there is two ways to look at this. You can look at how Catherine is very much, she is the heir of tradition.
Yeah.
She is what a monarch
Absolutely.
should look
She's
like.
dignified, has a sense of duty.
Yeah, exactly. Meghan Markle is very much, I'm American, I don't really care about this whole thing. And I think actually a lot of people...
She's been
speak
watching
with
too
that.
many Disney films. That's what her
But
problem
let's
is.
remember what the press was like when she was like when the wedding was. It's everyone was like, she's a breath of fresh air. She's just what the royal family
Yeah.
need. The country welcomed her. We had a huge wedding. Everybody got the day off. We all loved it. And
The
it's
day off,
actually it's
yeah.
individuals' actions that have brought down the royal family and their inability to cut things off when they needed to.
I'm sorry, but I look at Meghan Markle and I just think actually that she's, and I don't think this is too dramatic, I believe she's brought an element of shame onto the royal family.
She's brought Hollywood and the narcissistic tendencies of
Yeah,
Hollywood
absolutely,
to the royal
yeah.
family. And I think that's what you mean by brought shame, in my opinion.
Well, because if you sort of think of the way that, I mean, look, I very distinctly remember when the late great Princess Diana was killed, and it was one of the most devastating moments in this country's history.
See, I actually think it's one of the downfall of this country because we showed that if you cry a lot, we'll break protocol. The Queen lowering this royal standard when Diana died was a very bad thing to do because it really cemented in the nation that if you expel a lot of emotion and you cry a lot, then we're going to break centuries of tradition. That's what happened now. And I know it's a very controversial thing to say, but I do think there are certain moments where the royal family really have taken a misstep.
So you're saying because the Queen showed a degree of emotion, that was a bad thing? That's what you're saying?
Do you ever
Because
regret
that's
saying
not her
something?
job. That's not. She's not your grandma. She's the queen. She's not the
when the
nation's
whole
grandma.
nation is lamenting
No,
and
but that's the
grieving,
point. They shouldn't have been.
and you're there
They
in front of the
shouldn't have
cameras.
been.
Surely,
I will never,
a
ever
degree
understand.
of emotion.
What
That's
is
what
in
you're
your Guinness? What's wrong with you?
I've
So
been
the-
dying to talk about
The
this for
point I
years.
make to this is the fact that because we have so few people who are figureheads who we can look to for inspiration in this moment, whether we agree or not, when we look at the royal family, they are people we can take inspiration from. Think about all the people who don't have motherly or fatherly figures in their lives.
Yeah.
They can look at the king, they can look at the late queen, they can look at these people like Princess Catherine. And in a world where those kind of figures are becoming so rare,
They are rare.
But they
I
actually have to-
think that's where
but
people get it
why
from.
are they so rare? And the reason for that is we love to put people on a pedestal and then pull the pedestal out. We elevate people and then we delight in taking them down.
But the difference,
that is a big problem
the difference
we
with the
have.
royal family is that we have no rights to pull that pedestal away. You know, as I know that the whole idea of subjects, I think, was abolished in the 1960s. But even so, we are, for all intents and purposes, the king's subjects.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, who the hell are we as mere commoners, if you like, to even question
I
it?
tell you where I would come. I said it as a British citizen who cares about this country, who loves this country, who wants to see it stay together. The British royal family are the walking, living constitution of this country.
Yeah.
So therefore, our stake in, let's say, critiquing or trying to hold them up and keep them going is that we want to keep this nation going. We all have an invested interest in the sanctity of this nation, the integrity of this nation, and that does rest at the
And that's
apex
why-
with the royal
That's
family.
why I have this problem with Meghan Markle, is because
Yes.
to my mind,
Yeah.
she has looked at that and said, to hell with it, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do the royal family the way I want it. And look how that's worked out. But
And that's-
whereas Princess Catherine
Yeah.
is just the embodiment of tradition.
I think if you look at it as well, that's exactly what happened when Charles and Diana, they broke up. There was this whole scandal. It was kind of like, whoa, this is crazy, this is ridiculous. And we're going through that cycle again.
Yeah, we did what the worst thing, again, there's an English commentator from centuries ago, he said, you don't let the light in on magic. And basically, the problem with the royal family is they didn't understand how to manage the press and how to manage the fact that they are celebrities, not monarchs.
No,
and I think,
no,
but, you know,
no,
but no, I'm not saying whether they should be or not, but that's what they became because they failed to pull out and say, whoa, we're not celebrities. We have a figurehead position.
The fundamental
and they've
difference
indulged in it.
between Catherine and Meghan is that Meghan saw it as an opportunity. Catherine sees it as a point of service. I think she.
I would point out that Catherine changed her degree to go to university in Edinburgh because that's where Will was going. Her mother is a very interesting figure.
Maybe so, but I think at this point in time, when she exited Royal Family, she understood this is about service. She understood that very clearly. I think Prince William did a good job of trying to make prep her for that.
Do you not think the difference is because she knew that Will was going to be king, as Harry was unlikely to be king. So therefore, the pressure on Catherine was different to the pressure on Meghan.
I think
whatever the pressure was, it's worked.
Yeah.
I think the right way round.
I think the difference is as well, Meghan Markle already had a certain level of celebrity. She was equipped to deal with that. And when
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is that she confused her celebrity status with royalty.
Exactly, yeah. And the problem is when she came into this situation and she thought, oh, hang on, this kind of celebrity isn't for me. I'm going to go back to being the kind of celebrity I want to be.
She never got over the idea she won't be number one.
Yeah.
So if you're like an actress in Hollywood, you've got to compete. You're never going to beat the king or the queen.
Exactly.
She has a position, and that is as high as she's ever going
What's
to go.
symptomatic of that is who did she invite to her wedding? Who was there? A mum and a whole list of Oprah, George Clooney, a list of A-list celebrities from Hollywood. So I think that says it all.
Yeah.
Well, it's very simple. I'm old-fashioned. I say God save the king. Right, let's go and see what the other punters think, shall we? Who do you prefer, Princess Catherine or Meghan Markle, and why?
I like Kate because I know her. Not personally.
Know her?
I know of her. I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it. Actually, I quite like Suits, but I didn't really know. He likes from Suits. I prefer Kate. We'll go with Kate because I know her.
Meghan Markle.
Why?
I just think she's very beautiful. And like her and Harry have gone completely against the grain. The royal family is very like structured, and I'd rather him. He's like his mum. And I think they follow that. And I love her programme with Love Meghan. I just like her. I don't not dislike Kate, but I just think I just prefer Meghan.
Princess Kate.
Why?
I think she understands kind of like being part of a royal family a lot better than Meghan Markle did.
Well, look, I would say Suits. Again, the same as my friend. Suits, acting is king, right? And how she looks.
Yeah. I mean, you're only a red-blooded male, right?
Exactly that.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of her acting?
Fantastic. But listen,
You remember it?
I remember it. I think she did everything against the crown, and she ruined what the crown represents. So Catherine did a fantastic job at that, but Meghan ruined all of that. So patriarchy and everything that comes along with that was ruined by Meghan, but we love Meghan anyway. And her documentary was fantastic as well.
You talking about her Netflix stuff?
Yeah. The stuff that she said she didn't want to be documented on and then did a documentary on it.
Well, there we are, gents. I'm afraid we've reached last orders, or actually more appropriately, we've reached the end of this particular episode of Down the Local. So all that's left for me to do is to say a huge thank you to Mayuran Senthilnathan. Thank you very much indeed to Tom Clayton, to Pete Barnes, and of course to you at home for watching. And of course, a huge thanks to our hosts for this evening. Of course, it is Politicised in Epsom in Surrey. Well, until next time, all that's left to say is cheers!
Cheers!